Your first marketing job humbles you because what you think you may know, you don't know until you really test and try things. To me, it taught me the importance of being able to back up your thoughts and opinions by actual data and results and outcomes.
Hi, I'm Jason Harris, and you're listening to Soul and Science. Fast forward your marketing mind in about 20 minutes. Welcome to the podcast. Today, I'm joined by Everette Taylor, CMO at Artsy, the leading global marketplace for buying and selling art. Everette joined Artsy in 2019 from ET Enterprises, which he founded in 2013 and where he served as CEO. He has also served as CMO for Skirt and head of marketing at Qualaroo. Everette has overseen growth for new mobile apps at Microsoft China as interim head of marketing and as CMO for e-commerce company Sticker Mule, where he led substantial growth for the company as their youngest ever executive. Everette's true passion, however, lies within his philanthropic work and giving back to his community. He's been called an innovator who's changing the consumer marketing game by Black Enterprise and a millennial entrepreneur who built a marketing and tech empire by Business Insider. In 2018, he was named one of the 100 most influential African Americans by The Root and Forbes 30 Under 30 for marketing and advertising. Fantastic. So we are thrilled to have you. Thanks for joining us, Everette. So I always start with what the origin story of your career. So tell me about Everette Taylor. Did you fall into marketing? Did you know you wanted to go into marketing?
Yeah, it's so funny to hear the origin story because I always think about like some superhero origin story and all of that. And I was just a kid from the hood, man. I was 14 years old actually, and I was doing things that I wasn't supposed to be doing, i.e., selling drugs and being in the streets. And the men in my family growing up, most of them were either in jail or on drugs or in trouble. And so there was just like kind of this pattern and this cycle that happened within men in my family. And I was kind of going down that same trajectory, unfortunately. And my mother, who is an angel, put a stop to that. And she actually forced me to get a job. And so, in the classified ads, for the Gen Zers who are listening to this, they may not know what that is. In the classified ads, she actually saw a job listing for a junior marketing assistant for this nonprofit called Eastern National. And she called them up and she got me a job interview. I actually had a job interview that same week with Chick-fil-A, and I really wanted the Chick-fil-A job because the homies worked there. And
Closed on Sundays.
Closed on Sundays. I still love Chick-fil-A to this day, man.
Yeah, it's pretty
Give me
good.
a number one. No pickles. So I was disappointed going to it, and I went to that job interview and I absolutely crushed it. It was so easy for me and natural for me to talk about marketing, or something that I didn't even realize was marketing at the time. I didn't really know what it even meant. And I got offered the job and they asked if I could start Monday at 9 a.m. And I said, I can't because of school. They thought I was a college kid. And I was 14. I was actually in high school, and I had to get a worker's permit to work. I would go in before and after school, and I would work on the weekends to make up for time. And that was my first marketing gig. That's how I got into it, man.
My kid's 14. I cannot imagine him crushing a job interview.
To me, it was this. I really wanted to do this for my mom. Like, my mom is, when you talk about soul and science, that's the stuff that you can't replicate. Like, this feeling of love for the people that you care about, the things that push you. And I knew how much my mom wanted me to have that job and how important it was for me to get off the streets. And so I was in there motivated, man.
Getting that job changed the trajectory of your life?
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that I will say is that, one, it introduced me to the discipline of marketing, first and foremost. Number two, and this has kind of been in the DNA throughout my career. My first couple marketing gigs were with nonprofits. So this idealism of wanting to do good in the world and to help people in the things that I do. And I think three, is that it allowed me to meet people that I never would have been able to meet. You know, this first job actually was marketing for gift shops and bookstores that are on the in national parks across the East Coast, right? So I actually spent time in museums. So I was meeting people who came from all around the world. Like a lot of people from where I'm from, they never leave a few block radius. That's crazy, right? They haven't, been anywhere. They haven't been on a plane. They haven't been out of the city. Um, and so it just opened my eyes to the world. And I think one of my biggest strengths as a marketer is my ability to be knowledgeable about different cultures and different types of people. I think your first marketing job humbles you because what you think you may know, you don't know until you really test and try things. And so to me, it taught me the importance of being able to back up your thoughts and opinions by actual data and results and outcomes.
Wow.
And so I learned that really, really early on.
And they were listening to a 14-year-old kid.
Shout out to Bob. Bob was my manager, and man, he was much older than me, and he believed in me, and he gave me the ability to like try new things. And I think Bob was just there for a paycheck, so he just enjoyed my optimism. I remember one of the big bosses from corporate was in Richmond, and there's this hotel in Richmond called the Jefferson Hotel, and it's a 5-star hotel, the only 5-star hotel in Richmond. And I remember that when we dropped our boss off at the hotel, I was like maybe 15, 16, and the boss literally said, maybe with 20, 25 years of hard work, you can stay in a place like this someday. And I stayed there when I was like 23. So I remember hitting up Bob and saying like, hey, it didn't take me 25, 30 years. Yeah.
That's such a dick comment.
Such a dick comment, but it's all good. I've had so many moments in my life, in my career, where people have doubted me. I remember, sorry, this might be a little bit off subject, but I've never told this story actually. When I was in high school, I met this young lady who was at one of my games, and so I went to school in the city, and she was out like way out in the county. She went to a private school. Beautiful, probably. I thought she was like the most beautiful woman I've ever met in my life at the time. And she was mixed. Her mother was white, her dad was black, and she went to this private school, and I wanted to take her to one of my school dances. So she said, yeah, I can maybe go, but my parents want to meet you. And so I drove out to way out there. It's this place called Colonial Heights. And I felt like I was in like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I had never seen like houses like this. It was insane. And, I'm like 16 at the time. And I have this busted up car, and I'm wearing like, how it was back then in the early 2000s, like super baggy clothes, Coogee, all that stuff. And so, I was definitely a product of my environment and the culture I was around. That's how I knew how to dress. The way I spoke with, I probably didn't sound the most intelligent, even though I was number 2 in my class, and I met her father, and he told her and her mother to go inside. And he told me that you are not worthy of dating my daughter, and I will not let some hoodlum date my daughter. And this was coming from another black man who I was inspired by, and seeing him live in this incredible neighborhood. And like those moments, they put a chip on your shoulder and they motivate you.
Dude, that's a fucked up story.
I've never told this story. I've been scared to kind of tell that story, but yeah, that's the thing that hung over me. And, it's crazy how those things happen, but, coming from where I came from, people like me didn't have the opportunity to work for a company like I worked for when I was young, or get the opportunity to experience new things. And, it took me a while to be able to experience life outside of the hood and become more cultured and a little bit more refined. But don't get it twisted. At the end of the day, I'm still me. And I think that's what makes me special as a marketer and a leader of people.
I love that story and I love the motivation. What happened after high school?
After high school, I went my freshman year to Virginia Tech. I took my first marketing job that was initially part of a work study program with United Way, as a marketing coordinator for United Way. And then they hired me, which was really, really cool. And I worked there my first year. And I studied computer engineering my first year in school. And unfortunately, and I don't want to talk too much about it because it's been talked about a ton, but I was homeless during my senior year of high school. And I wanted to go back home because my mom was going through some things, financially. And so I actually dropped out of school, after my freshman year, like right in the beginning of my sophomore year, to go help her out. And I was like working full time down in Richmond.
Were you doing marketing there or no?
Well, not at first. I was doing a BS, minimum wage job at Joann Fabrics.
Holy
And
shit.
in Richmond, yeah, man, it was shitty. But I was doing that job, but I was like, man, this is crazy. The gas that it costs to get out here, the money it costs to just even buy lunch would be like 3 hours worth of my day already before taxes.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's insane. Those type of things. But it inspired me because, at the time I used to love to party. I was 19. And so I actually started throwing parties, and then it evolved into my first company, which was called Easy Events, where we created ticketing software for events. And I started that when I was 19 with some engineers that I had met at Virginia Tech.
Started marketing, entrepreneurship. How did you then pivot back into becoming working at Skirt and becoming, CMO? And how did you pivot away from entrepreneurship into working at companies?
I really never did. There was only brief moments. So we sold Easy Events in 2011. I thought it was a lot of money then, and it's not a lot of money now.
How much money was it?
It was 1.2 mil.
I mean,
I learned about capital gains, and yeah, after taking care of family, I bought myself a Porsche. I was like 21, 22 with a Porsche. Once all that, and then obviously I had other people that helped me build the company, so compensating them and things like that. I didn't have much money left over, not as much as I thought I would. So I actually had to go back to college. I used to look up to people like Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey and all these people who were building these companies in Silicon Valley. And I was like, man, I need to get out to the West Coast, man. So literally I decided to drop out. And 2 weeks later, I was in California working on a startup with Sean Ellis, who I'm not sure if you're familiar with Sean Ellis, but he coined the term growth hacking.
damn.
So he is the father of growth marketing, growth hacking. And I worked for him. I was his head of marketing I was like 23, 24, something like that, maybe younger. And yeah, that's how I started. And, we're building a Silicon Valley startup, Qualaroo. Came there as head of marketing. That company got acquired later. We also started a company together called growthhackers.com. So I actually co-founded growthhackers.com with Sean Ellis. But the success of that platform, Growth Hackers, and obviously being head of marketing of a company that got acquired, catapulted me into the opportunity to become my first CMO at Sticker Mule, which Sticker Mule, a lot of people don't realize how big and successful and profitable Sticker Mule was. And to be honest, I was in over my head even going to that company, being a first time CMO.
I mean, you have a lot. I'm trying to even wrap my head around. You have a lot of focus on where you were going and a lot of entrepreneurship, but then a lot of following your gut and shit just worked out.
Dude, that is the story of my life. Following my gut, man. I'm telling you, following my gut. It's been an incredible journey. And now, I can't announce what company it is, but I'll be taking my first CEO role for a well-known company at 33. So I've accelerated that path by taking a lot of risk and a lot of changes, and just betting on myself constantly.
And a lot of hard work. That doesn't come without a hell of a lot of hard work and hustle. And then when you got to Artsy, what sparked your interest in Artsy? Like, why did that feel like the next right move? I think, what was that, 2019?
Yeah. So, you know what's so crazy? And I'm a little ashamed to say this, but like I've I've been at places where I was like passionate about the team or passionate about the company and sometimes passionate about the mission sometimes, but rarely not at any point in my career, even the companies I started, because even maybe except for easy events like, being able to throw parties, because that was something that I loved and was passionate about at the time. But, I've really made decisions in my career that was really based on financial security and like elevation in our careers. And a lot of professionals do that, right? I think Artsy presented the first opportunity in my career to actually do something that I was extremely passionate about. Like you see the art in my background. I live this. I love art. I love the mission of democratizing the space. I love the team that I was working with. I love the ability to learn so much with Artsy being a bigger company, having an experienced CEO. So the ability to learn, to be able to transform an industry, to do something I'm passionate about. I literally get up every day excited about what I do at Artsy. It's something that's really exciting for me.
That's hard to find. It's hard to find all those things. And I know that Artsy sales on the platform have grown over 150%. Obviously, that's teamwork and collaborative, but the CMO does have a big part in that growth. How did you contribute to that incredible growth?
I think it was helping shift the mentality of the company, making us more user centric, listening to our collectors. Originally Artsy was a strictly B2B business. Before they didn't have a marketplace that you could transact on. So really pushing this user-centric strategy of really starting to engage with collectors and making art feel more accessible and not this opaque and exclusive experience. And then also on the product side, building the right products that were going to delight and help people transact and be engaged on our platform on both the B2B and B2C sides. I think that was the biggest thing, like really making a lot of noise. And then when people get on the platform, making sure that our product was incredible, our matchmaking, our onboarding, all of that was going to be on point when using Artsy.
When you're making those decisions and you're putting the audience first, you say user centric, do you do a lot of research and analytics, or I'm a user too, this doesn't work for me or this does work for me? How do you balance what research says or how much research you do versus like the Everette common sense theory?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little Steve Jobs and Kanye-ish at times because, this is a space that I understand and, I'm a collector myself. And so I have these natural instincts, but that's also bridged with like, we have incredible data scientists at Artsy. We have incredible researchers and brand researchers and user researchers at Artsy. So combining the data that they're seeing on the platform, combining the qualitative data and feedback that we're getting on the user research side, and then my natural instincts, it's a combination of everything.
You're split between soul and science.
Oh, 1000%. Because here's the thing, man. When it comes to leading a company or being a face of a company or whatever that may be, if you have this approach that you know what's best all the time, you're going to lose the people.
Yeah.
You have to be able to be inspirational, innovative, and have great intuition, but at the same time, be able to work in a collaborative way that does not discredit the hard work that the rest of the team does.
You were named Forbes CMO Next and Forbes World's Most Influential CMO on that list. Has that been like a game changer for you in your career? Is that very useful? And my second question is, what did you do that was game changing to get on those lists?
Honestly, I don't know. The CMO Next thing, I think it was really a lot to do with the work, man. We had a lot of high visibility work and we were doing things that were truly driving impact and driving a lot of success. It's my team, man. Like my team is absolutely incredible. And I'm not just saying that to be like politically correct. No, my team is the shit. And if you're a true CMO and a great CMO, then your job is to build a team that's the shit. You know what I mean? You're supposed to build a team that's absolutely lights out incredible. And so I owe a lot of that to them. And in terms of like how that's impacted me or changed, I think the one thing I will say is that it definitely got me more attention on the recruiting trails for like bigger, like multinational, big public company CMO roles, high profile CMO roles. I've turned down some really big, like if I talked, I couldn't talk about it, but like some of the opportunities I've turned down, people work their whole careers for as a marketer. But I knew that my path was to CEO, right? So even with all of the accolades and all of the things that were happening, my North Star this entire time has to get to be back in the CEO seat and a non-founder CEO seat, right? And so to me, it was great and it was amazing. And I appreciate that. You know, I celebrated with the team, you know, in terms of like just giving them their flowers for that recognition. But at the end of the day, man, I knew where my path was headed and it wasn't CMO.
What would you give advice to younger Everette Taylor? Do you have advice on do it like I did it, don't do it like I did it?
The advice I would give to any young version of myself is to really be focused on impact. Everything else is going to work itself out. When I look through my career, it's easy to be able to say like, oh, he went from VP to CMO, he went to this. No, when I look through my career, it's like, oh, wow, I started a company, got acquired. I became head of marketing for a company, scaled it and got it acquired. You know, I was at my first CMO role and we grew 40%. Even though it didn't work out, it was, you know, I made impact in that company, went to Skirt, scaled it, got acquired, went to Artsy, grew the company tremendously. And now I'm in a position to be a CEO of a well-known brand. So to me, the common theme was the belief in myself and then actually driving impact wherever I went. The other thing is if title or something like that and knowing where you want to go is important to you, I knew I wanted to be back in the CEO seat. I don't really like having a boss. So I love Mike though. That's my guy, 100, you know, my man, 100 grand. But what I thought was, all right, this is where I want to be. How do I work myself backwards to get to where I want to go, right? So say I'm at Artsy, I'm CMO of Artsy, right? And I could go and be CMO of an even bigger company, but does that put me in a better position to be a CEO? I don't think so, right? It could just put me in a position to continue to be a career CMO. Where at Artsy, I had a lot of responsibilities that expanded beyond marketing, and I had a great relationship and was learning a lot from my CEO here. And so to me, that was better preparing me for the trajectory that I wanted to become a CEO.
I love that. So don't just go for like the coolest brand that might not take you where your ultimate goal is.
Absolutely. Or money too, because you know, some of these roles, they pay a lot of money, but you got to know what your ultimate end state is going to be.
Do you have a favorite artist or piece of art that people should know about or something that speaks to you that, you know, you're passionate?
I'll just talk about a couple pieces from my own collection. There's one piece that really stands out to me more than anything, and I see it every morning when I get up and come downstairs. Is this piece by this British Nigerian artist named Jade Fado-Jutumi. And it's an abstract piece that's called I'm Just One Crawl Away. And every day, no matter what you're trying to do, you feel like you're just one crawl away. You're never going to feel like you're quite there, right? It's always like one step forward, a couple steps back, or you reach this new milestone and there's another milestone, right? And so it is this painting that just keeps me level-headed and remembering that, like, man, this is a process. During the tough days and everything like that, you know, you're always that much closer to your goal. And so, you know, it's a continuous process, but it's a beautiful reminder that, man, this stuff is tough, man. And, you know, you have to continue to level up over time.
And you've done a lot of philanthropic type of endeavors. How do you balance that passion with the business passion? How do you look at that?
You know, this is very interesting because think about my new role. Obviously, I can't say it right now, but what better bridge is there between doing good in the world and building an incredible brand and company? I feel like this new role is literally like my life has been heading towards this point this entire time, you know? And it is clearly so aligned for me and my world wanting to bring positive change and genuinely impact the world in a positive way and still be at a well-known brand and building my career, et cetera, et cetera. So I think the two are really coming together.
If your job can also be philanthropic and you don't have to do that as a side hustle to make yourself feel good inside and make the world better, I mean, that's kind of a dream.
I mean, even at Artsy, just the efforts we've made on the philanthropic side with benefit auctions. I mean, after this year, we're probably going to have over just my tenure have probably going to raise over 50 million just to give to benefits and philanthropic causes.
All right, turning over to non-business, Everette. What are some of your role models that you have in your life?
I don't really do the role model thing, but I'm trying to think.
What do you have against role models?
I mean, people that I really look up to and respect is a little bit different. Like, all right, so I'm gonna spew out a few names. Let me think. Frank Ocean.
All right.
Jack Dorsey, Donald Glover, Dave Chappelle, and Kyrie Irving. What do all 5 of those people have in common, you think?
I mean, they're best at what they do?
One of the best, yeah, essentially, arguably some of the best at what they do. I think it's incredible to see people who are authentically themselves. They don't align with whatever social norms or social constructs that the world that has for them. They speak their minds. They're true to who they are. And at the end of the day, they're fucking great at what they do. Frank Ocean, Jack Dorsey, Donald Glover, Dave Chappelle, Kyrie Irving, say what you want. Disagree or not with them. They live their ways in their life that's authentically them. And they are some of the best at doing what they do. And I really, really appreciate that.
I know they do a lot of philanthropic things too.
Now, mind you, I don't agree with their political beliefs or whatever, right? But I appreciate them for being authentically them. Like there's people on that list that I just named that I like vehemently disagree with some of the things that they believe in, right? But at the end of the day, I respect them for being true to who they are and speaking their truth and also being really, really great at their craft.
Do you have a favorite quote or mantra that you go back to or that you think about?
All good things come to those who stay true.
Damn. Who said that?
Pac.
Oh, right.
All good things come to those who stay true. Stay true to yourself, be a good person, do good in the world. And I think it's all going to come back to you, man.
You've seen that firsthand, it sounds like.
Oh, 1010%. And trust me, I've been through my share of heartache and disappointment and failure, man. But I always bounce back, man. Always bounce back.
Well, thanks for taking the time to be on the Soul and Science podcast. This was incredible. I think you're obviously true to who you are. We look forward to seeing what's next.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me.
Soul and Science is a Mechanism podcast produced by Maggie Bowles, Ryan Tillotson, Tyler Nielsen, Emma Swanson, and Lily Jablonski. The show is edited by Daniel Ferreira with theme music by Kyle Merritt. And I'm your host, Jason Harris.